Thank you. So, a few years ago, I was living in rural Connecticut, and I had moved there for a job. And I found it really hard to find an apartment because my job is at the University of Connecticut in the middle of nowhere. You could basically buy a big house on a farm, which I, of course, could not afford, or you can live with a bunch of dirty college students. No offense. I was one, too, at one time. But not when I was living in Connecticut. But I did eventually find this seemingly great place. This couple had just bought a house on a lake, and they had turned a part of it into a separate apartment. Separate entrance, kitchen, laundry, the whole deal. And the best part was, it's part of the house, so they paid the utilities and the cable and the internet. I just moved in and lived there. It was great. So I moved in, and they had a canoe and a kayak that I could borrow, use on the lake. Wonderful. So I move into this place, and I start making friends at work. About a month later, someone's having a party. Go to this party, and that day there was a big snowstorm. In fact, the snowstorm was so bad, the university had closed. And go to this party, have a good time, coming back, maybe midnight, 1 o'clock. And as I get to my street, I realize that this windy little lakeside street, dirt road really, it had been plowed, but now there was basically a layer of packed snow on this street. So I turn onto it, and I'm driving real slow, right, because it's windy, and on my right side is a snowbank, and on my left side is, I don't want to say cliff, but a steep drop to the lake. I drive a Toyota Prius, which is a wonderful car. I highly recommend it, but it's not exactly an all-terrain vehicle. And I get to this steep hill that's right before my apartment, and I get about 3/4 of the way up, and then my wheels start spinning, and I start sliding backwards. And I sort of control my slide backwards, because I grew up in New England. And I end up with the back right corner of my car planted in a snowbank. So I'm wondering what I'm going to do now, 1 o'clock in the morning in the middle of nowhere. And just as I'm wondering about this, a car pulls up. And out of the driver's side climbs a not very large man who I think had a back problem because he was kind of hunched over. This is going to make a great recording. He was kind of hunched over. From the passenger side, a tall, sort of broad-shouldered woman who it's kind of hard to see the moonlight and the headlights reflected off the snow, but I think she might have had a beard. Maybe it was an odd scarf, but... So the hunchback says to me, what you gotta do is turn your wheels and put your car in reverse and back into the snowbank. And your car will pivot around on the slippery road, and then you can pull out. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if the snowbank is soft, because it's made out of snow, I'm just going to drive my car deeper into it. If it's hard for some reason that I don't see, I'm going to break the back end of my car. This whole plan is based on the road being really slippery. I don't like it. Seems like a bad idea. So I say to him, I'm not sure about this. I appreciate your suggestion, but I think I'm just going to call a couple of friends and get my car pushed out. We'll work it out. And the bearded lady says, she kind of snaps at me. She says, do what he says. He knows what he's talking about. My mama didn't raise no fool. Certainly not the kind of fool who would argue with a bearded lady. So I turn the wheel and I put my car in reverse. I gently apply the gas. And I feel my car start to pivot, just like he said. And it pivots right out of the spot. So now I'm facing downhill. I can pull out. I roll down the window. I say, great, thanks. He says, here's what you do. Pull back out on the main road, come back in, and you floor it. Put the pedal to the metal. You build up enough speed to get up that big hill and you're home free. And I thought to myself, this also doesn't seem like a good idea. but I know a good omen when I see one. So I pull out, and I put the pedal to the metal, and it actually worked. I got to my apartment, and I was so excited I just beached my car in the driveway without shoveling it like a tiny fuel-efficient whale. And, I think the point of this story is that sometimes what seems like a good idea turns out to be a bad idea, and what seems like a bad idea turns out to be a good idea.